I sat stiffly in the leather chair across from Monica Benson, clutching my purse so tightly my knuckles turned white. Her voice, cold and sharp, cut through the silence like a blade. "I consider this disloyal," she said, sliding a printed email across her polished desk. "After everything Harborview Communications has done for you." The words barely registered. My heart thundered in my ears as the reality set in. After 6 years of loyalty, millions brought in, and 3 consecutive years of denied raises, I was being fired. Not for poor performance, not for misconduct, but because I had dared to seek better for myself. Because I had finally updated my resume and interviewed elsewhere, because I chose to believe I deserved more. Security was already waiting outside. My building access was revoked. My career at Harborview was over just like that. Have you ever given everything to a job only to be discarded the moment you wanted more? If you were in my place, would you have fought back or walked out with your dignity intact? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And if you believe no one should ever be punished for knowing their worth. Stay with me, you're about to hear the rest of the story. My name is Natalie Brooks. I'm 31 years old, and for the last 6 years, I dedicated my professional life to Harborview Communications in Spokane, Washington. When I first walked through those glass doors, I was fresh out of graduate school, clutching a marketing degree from Washington State University and dreams bigger than my tiny entry-level paycheck. I started at the bottom, coffee runs, meeting notes, late nights, no one noticed, weekends, no one cared about. But I worked harder than anyone. Within 2 years, I was managing mid-tier accounts. By my 4th year, I had taken over our biggest client, North Bay Solutions, bringing in nearly 30% of Harborview's annual revenue. I built relationships others had deemed impossible. I solved problems before they turned into crises. I earned trust, respect, results. I didn't do it for applause. I did it because I believed that loyalty and hard work would eventually be rewarded. That if I kept showing up, delivering above and beyond, someone at the top would see me, would value me, would invest in me. But 3 years ago, that illusion began to crack. After renegotiating a major client contract boosting revenue by millions, I walked into Monica Benson's office with a portfolio of proof in hand. Revenue growth charts, client satisfaction reports, industry awards, market salary comparisons. I wasn't just asking for a raise. I was making the case for what I had already earned. Monica smiled politely with that rehearsed sympathetic tilt of her head. "It's just not in the budget this year, Natalie, but your contribution is noted. We'll revisit it soon." I believed her. I wanted to believe her. The economy was shaky. I told myself to be patient. The next year, when I brought in 3 new major accounts, I tried again. Same answer. Next year will be better. Meanwhile, Monica upgraded her car to a brand new luxury SUV, and Harborview leased another entire floor for expansion. Still, I stayed for my clients, for my colleagues, for the belief that loyalty meant something. But after the 3rd denial following my biggest win yet, negotiating a 40% increase in North Bay's annual contract, I realized something. Loyalty was not a two-way street at Harborview. It was a dead-end road. That night, I opened my laptop and updated my resume for the first time in 6 years. Not out of bitterness, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. I wasn't angry. I was done waiting. I started applying quietly, cautiously. I didn't want drama. I didn't want to burn bridges. I just wanted a future where I didn't have to beg for the recognition I deserved. But Harborview and Monica Benson had other plans, and the moment she slid that email across her desk, the moment she accused me of betrayal for daring to want more, I realized she hadn't fired me out of anger. She had fired me out of fear, because somewhere deep down she knew what was about to happen next, and it was something she could never have stopped. Walking out of Harborview Communications with my life packed into a single cardboard box was surreal. Family photos, 6 years of loyalty, a coffee mug gifted by a grateful client, desk plants that had survived longer than some of our executives, all crammed into one flimsy container. It was almost funny, almost. The spring sunshine was warm on my face as I loaded the box into my car. I took a deep breath, trying to anchor myself to keep the emotions from flooding in all at once. That was when my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan Cole, CEO of North Bay Solutions. "Can we move our final discussion to today, 2 p.m.? I stared at the screen, heart pounding. 2 hours. 2 hours to shift from stunned and unemployed to possibly stepping into the opportunity I had barely dared to hope for. I replied with a simple, steady yes. Then drove home in silence, the weight of everything pressing down harder than the box in my trunk. At my apartment, I set the box down on the kitchen counter and just stared at it. 6 years of building, growing, believing, reduced to something that could be packed up in under 15 minutes. My phone rang again. This time, it was Sophie, my best friend since college. "I just heard," she said without even saying hello. "Derek texted me. Are you okay?" Derek worked in Harborview's IT department. News apparently traveled fast. I sank onto a stool, feeling the exhaustion hit me all at once. "I'm processing," I said truthfully. "It's completely unfair," Sophie fumed. "Everyone knows you're the reason Harborview even kept North Bay as a client." Monica just couldn't handle having someone more capable under her. A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. There was a grain of truth there. Monica had been the company's star account executive once, years before moving into management. She missed the praise, the spotlight. I had become a constant, inconvenient reminder of what she used to be. But even knowing that didn't dull the sting, getting fired the way I did. Escorted out like a criminal, stripped of my email access in front of everyone. It cut deeper than I wanted to admit. "It's her loss," Sophie said firmly. "And honestly, Nat, maybe it's the best thing that could have happened. You've been undervalued for years. This is your chance to finally step into something better." She was right. Logically, I knew it. Emotionally, it still hurt, but there wasn't time to wallow. I had an appointment to get ready for. An unexpected, accelerated chance to reclaim my career. I showered, changed into my best suit, the navy one reserved for major client pitches. Applied makeup with careful, practiced hands, not to impress, not to hide the hurt, but to remind myself I am still that woman, capable, prepared, professional. No one can take that from me. As I stared at my reflection in the mirror, something inside shifted. Monica thought she had punished me by firing me so abruptly. But maybe, just maybe, she had done me a favor. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning. And by the time Harborview realized what they had truly lost, it would already be too late. The glass tower of North Bay Solutions gleamed under the afternoon sun as I pulled into the parking garage. It looked nothing like Harborview's aging beige offices. This building radiated energy, possibility, respect. I checked my reflection one last time in the rearview mirror, straightened my blazer, and whispered to myself, "You belong here." Inside, the elevator carried me to the 30th floor. Heart hammering against my ribs, I rehearsed answers in my mind. I replayed the last conversation with Ethan. I braced myself for yet another uphill battle. But when the elevator doors opened, Ethan Cole was already waiting for me in the reception area. He greeted me with a warm, genuine smile. "Thank you for coming on such short notice, Natalie." We shook hands, firm and steady. "I appreciate the opportunity," I replied, voice even despite the nerves buzzing under my skin. He led me through a modern, open workspace, filled with natural light and clusters of collaboration pods. Employees waved as we passed, faces I recognized from years of coordinating projects together. There was no tension, no suspicion, only respect. Ethan's corner office wasn't grand or intimidating, just a clean, welcoming space with floor-to-ceiling windows, framing a breathtaking view of the mountains. "Coffee." He offered, casual, "Please," I said, sinking into the comfortable chair across from his desk. We talked briefly, small updates, pleasantries. But soon Ethan's expression turned serious. "I'll be honest, Natalie," he began. "This isn't an interview," my breath caught. He slid a folder across the desk toward me. "This is a job offer." I opened it with trembling hands, scanning the document. Director of Client Strategy. A team of 5 under my leadership, salary, almost double what I had been making at Harborview, benefits, bonuses. Everything I had worked for finally reflected on paper. I looked up, overwhelmed. "This is incredibly generous." I managed. Ethan smiled kindly. "It's not generous, it's fair. It's market rate for someone with your experience and results. You've earned this, Natalie. We have wanted to work with you directly for a long time." Tears stung the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them back. "Not here, not now. Take the evening to review it carefully," Ethan said, "but know this. We value what you bring, and we believe you deserve to thrive, not just survive." I nodded, unable to trust my voice. For 6 years, I had been fighting for crumbs. and in one devastating, liberating afternoon, I was being offered a seat at a table that recognized my worth. As I left North Bay Solutions with the offer tucked securely in my bag, I knew something deep and final had shifted inside me. There was no going back. I would never again work for someone who treated loyalty like a weapon. I would never again accept less than I deserved. Harborview Monica Benson, the humiliation of being escorted out like a criminal. None of it could touch what was coming next. And this time, I wasn't going to apologize for stepping into my power. Not to Monica. Not to anyone. Not even to the parts of myself still clinging to old dreams of validation. I wasn't waiting for permission anymore. I was claiming what was mine and Harborview. They were about to feel the weight of the mistake they made. A mistake they could never undo. That night, I sat at my kitchen counter, the job offer from North Bay spread out before me. The numbers were real, the title was real, the respect was real. Still, I didn't rush to sign. Even though my mind was screaming, yes, my heart knew better. Major decisions deserved careful thought even when the answer was obvious. I poured a glass of wine and took my time. Reviewed the contract twice, made notes in the margins. Listened to the voice inside me that had been ignored for far too long, the one whispering, "You are worth it." By midnight, the decision was clear. The next morning, I signed the offer letter and emailed it back to Ethan with a short professional message. It was official, my new chapter had begun. But Harborview wasn't quite finished with me yet. An hour after I sent the signed offer, my phone rang. Unknown number, I hesitated before answering. Natalie Brooks speaking. "Miss Brooks, this is Marilyn Foster." The voice said, "I'm on the board at Harborview Communications. I'd like to meet with you to discuss the events of yesterday, hosting." I stiffened the board, the people who were supposed to oversee leadership and clearly hadn't been paying much attention. "I appreciate the call, Yaha," I said cautiously, "but I've already accepted another position elsewhere." There was a pause. "Would you be willing to meet anyway?" Marilyn pressed, "To discuss options. Perhaps there's a way to rectify the situation." The offer hung there heavy with unspoken desperation. I considered not because I wanted to go back. Not because I had any illusions left, but because closure mattered. Because speaking my truth to the people who had enabled Monica's behavior mattered. "I can meet tomorrow morning at 9. I said, "But to be clear, I'm not negotiating a return." "Understood," Marilyn replied, though I could hear the faint hope still clinging to her words. When I hung up, I leaned back and exhaled slowly. This meeting wouldn't be about saving anything. It would be about ending it properly on my terms, not theirs. At 9 a.m. sharp the next morning, I walked into Harborview Communications one last time. The lobby felt smaller somehow, dimmer. The energy that once buzzed with ambition now felt heavy with something else. Regret, Lily. The receptionist gave me a sad smile as I signed the visitor log. "For what it's worth," she said quietly. "Everyone's talking. Everyone knows you deserved better." I smiled back, touched more than I expected. "Thank you, Lily." The elevator ride to the conference room felt longer than it should have. But when the doors opened, I straightened my shoulders and walked forward without hesitation. Marilyn Foster waited inside a slim folder resting neatly in front of her. She stood to shake my hand. "Thank you for coming, Miss Brooks." We sat. No Monica, no audience, just the two of us face to face. "I've reviewed your personnel file." Marilyn began 6 years of exemplary performance. 3 formal salary adjustment requests, all denied without clear justification, and no policy violations related to your termination. Her voice was calm, measured, but her eyes told another story. She wasn't impressed with what she had found. Miss Benson acted without board consultation. She continued, "We believe a mistake was made. We would like to offer you reinstatement and immediate title promotion to Senior Account Director and a salary adjustment plus 10%. It was everything I had fought for, everything I had once believed I needed. But now it felt hollow, too late, too forced, too reactive. "That's a generous offer," I said, keeping my voice steady. "But I have already accepted a new position. I'm starting Monday." Marilyn studied me, then nodded slowly, respectfully. "Understood." Before standing, she asked one final question. "What could Harborview have done differently to keep you?" I didn't have to think long. "Recognize my value before I had to find it elsewhere," I said simply. "Loyalty only matters when it's mutual." She closed the folder, stood, and extended her hand again. "Thank you for your candor. I wish you nothing but success." I shook her hand, turned, and walked out of Harborview Communications for the final time. No tears, no bitterness, no looking back, just a quiet, steady certainty I was free. And the best part, the real consequences of Harborview's mistake were only just beginning. Monday morning arrived crisp and clear. I stood in front of the gleaming glass building that housed North Bay Solutions, feeling lighter than I had in years. This wasn't just a new job, it was a new life. Inside, everything had been prepared. A real office with walls and a door. A nameplate already installed, Natalie Brooks, Director of Client Strategy. At 9 sharp, Ethan Cole stopped by with a wide grin and a welcome basket under his arm. "Ready to dive in?" he asked. "More than ready," I said, meaning every word. He introduced me to my new team, 5 bright, motivated specialists, eager to build something better under my guidance. I shook their hands, shared smiles, felt the hum of real possibility vibrating through the air. By mid-morning, Ethan asked me to join him and a few executives in the conference room. I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't ready for what came next. "We wanted your perspective before finalizing a decision," Ethan explained. He handed me a folder. Inside were proposals from 3 competing marketing agencies. Harborview Communications was one of them. Their contract with North Bay was up for renewal. My throat tightened. This wasn't just business. This was the last tie to the place that had discarded me without a second thought. The CFO leaned forward. "We value your insight, Natalie. You know Harborview's strengths and their weaknesses better than anyone." I took a deep breath. The temptation to lash out flickered through me like a spark. I could have recommended terminating the relationship on the spot. I could have exacted revenge so sweet it would echo through Harborview's halls for years. But that wasn't who I wanted to be. Not anymore. "Evaluate them as you would any other agency," I said carefully. "Look at their recent performance, their responsiveness, their consistency. Hold them to the same standards you expect from any partner. Professional, measured, fair." I wasn't here to destroy Harborview. They had already done that to themselves. 2 days later, the decision came down. After reviewing all proposals, the North Bay executive team voted unanimously. They were moving forward with a new agency. Harborview's contract was terminated. The official email went out at 11 a.m. sharp on Wednesday. I watched as Ethan drafted it, professional and crisp. "After careful consideration, North Bay Solutions has decided to transition our account to Meridian Creative, effective immediately. We appreciate our partnership with Harborview Communications and wish them continued success." I didn't gloat, I didn't dance, I simply watched the dominoes fall. Because of Harborview's failure to value their people, because Monica Benson had let her ego outweigh her judgment, because they had forced out the one person keeping their biggest client anchored. At 2 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from Lily, the receptionist. Office's chaos, emergency meetings all day. 3 account managers updating resumes. "Monica looks like she aged 10 years since Monday." I stared at the message for a long moment, letting the reality of it sink in. I hadn't needed to raise my voice. I hadn't needed to seek revenge. I hadn't needed to burn the building down. I had simply walked away. And without me, the cracks Harborview had ignored for years finally split wide open. Success, it turned out, was the purest revenge of all. That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn connection request from Lily. I accepted it, adding a short message. "Thank you for your kindness. Wishing you all the best moving forward. Simple, graceful, no gloating." Harborview's downfall wasn't my burden to carry. I had already found something far greater. Self-respect, freedom, a future that didn't require anyone else's permission to shine. And as I sat at my new desk overlooking a skyline full of endless possibilities, I knew one thing for certain: this was only the beginning. 1 year later, I sat at the same desk on the 30th floor of North Bay Solutions. The mountains still stretched beyond the windows, timeless and steady, much like the life I had built since walking away from Harborview Communications. The past year had been a whirlwind of growth and opportunity. I had expanded our client strategy team from 5 specialists to a thriving department of 15. We had onboarded new agency partners, restructured outdated processes, and launched campaigns that shattered our original projections. And most importantly, I had found something I didn't even realize I was missing. A workplace that valued not just my results, but my ideas, my leadership, my humanity. Ethan Cole had made good on every promise: support, autonomy, respect. Not once did I have to justify my worth. Not once did I have to beg to be seen. Looking back now, the memory of that April morning at Harborview felt distant, like a chapter from another life. A life where I had once mistaken loyalty for acceptance, where I had believed that working harder, being quieter, giving more would eventually be enough. But the truth is, no amount of loyalty can fix a place that refuses to value you. No amount of sacrifice can make someone recognize what they're determined to ignore. Leaving wasn't the hard part. Believing I deserved better, that was the real work. And once I did, the world opened in ways I couldn't have imagined. I heard through the grapevine that Harborview never fully recovered from losing North Bay. They downsized 6 months after I left Monica Benson, quietly retired. Soon after, some of my former colleagues moved on to better opportunities. Others stayed trapped in the cycle I had broken free from. I didn't feel bitterness anymore, only a quiet kind of gratitude. Gratitude for the hard lessons. Gratitude for the door that slammed shut, forcing me to find another one wide open. Gratitude for the reminder that my worth was never negotiable. Sometimes life doesn't push you because you're failing. It pushes you because you're growing, because staying would shrink you into someone you were never meant to become. If I had stayed at Harborview, I would have continued dimming my own light, just to fit into spaces that were never built for me. Instead, I chose to honor myself, to bet on my own future, to walk away without burning bridges, because I knew the strongest bridge I would ever need was the one I built for myself. So if you ever find yourself standing in a place that no longer sees you, if you ever wonder whether you're asking for too much, remember this: you are not too much. You are not difficult. You are not disloyal for choosing yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away with your head held high, even when it breaks your heart, especially when it breaks your heart. Because on the other side of that heartbreak, there just might be a life you never dared to dream of, waiting for you to claim it. What happened to me at Harborview wasn't just about losing a job. It was about losing a version of myself that believed loyalty alone was enough. And in letting that go, I found something far more powerful: self-respect, courage, the quiet strength to walk away even when it hurt, the wisdom to know that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting back, but from choosing better for yourself. If you've ever stayed too long in a place that didn't value you, if you've ever wondered whether you were asking for too much just by wanting to be seen, know this: you are not too much. You are not wrong. You are worthy of spaces that celebrate your growth, not punish it. What about you? Have you ever faced a moment where walking away was the hardest yet most necessary choice? I'd love to hear your story. Share it in the comments. Your voice matters. And if you believe that choosing yourself is never a mistake, tap the like button. Subscribe to hear more true stories of strength and resilience. And share this story with someone who might need a reminder that sometimes the best revenge is living the life they said you couldn't.